Sahana Bhavatu Sahanam Punatu Sahaviryam Paravadai Tejasvinavadhitamasti ma vidvishabhai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Together we'll chant Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verses 11 to 20.
तेषामेवानुकम्पार्थम् अहमज्ञानजं तमः नाशयाम्यात्मभावस्थः ज्ञानदीपेन भास्वता. अर्जुन उवाच परं ब्रह्म परं धाम पवित्रं परमं भवान् पुरुषं शाश्वतं दिव्यम् आदिदेवमजं विभुम्. आहुस्त्वां ऋषयः सर्वे देवर्षिर्नारदस्तथा असितो देवलो व्यासः स्वयं चैव ब्रवीषि मे. सर्वमेतदृतं मन्ये यन्मां वदसि केशव. न हि ते भगवन् व्यक्तिम् विदुर्देवान् दानवाः स्वयमेवात्मनात्मानं वेत्थत्वं पुरुषोत्तम. भूतभावन भूतेश देवदेव जगत्पते वक्तुमर्हस्य शेषेण दिव्या ह्यात्मविभूतयः. याभिर्विभूतिभिर्लोकान् इमां स्वं व्याप्य तिष्ठसि. कथं विद्यामहं योगिन् त्वां सदा परिचिन्तयन्. केषु केषु च भावेषु चिन्त्योऽसि भगवन्मया. विस्तरेणात्मनो योगं विभूतिं च जनार्दन. भूयः कथय तृप्तिर्हि शृण्वतो नास्ति मे मृतम्. श्रीभगवानुवाच हन्त ते कथयिष्यामि दिव्या ह्यात्मविभूतयः. प्राधान्यतः कुरु श्रेष्ठः नास्त्यन्तो विस्तरस्य मे. अहमात्मा गुडाकेश सर्वभूताशयस्थितः. अहमादिश्च मध्यं च भूतानामन्त एव च.
Janki ji, you're muted.
I'm so sorry. Thank you. Arjuna is in the state of emotional sort of upliftment because of this wonderful knowledge that he has been gaining. He is not in a state where he comprehends anything, but he's in that state where his mind wants this thing. This is a state in the journey where we will all come multiple times, where our mind is longing for something and we have no comprehension what it is that we are looking for. But this is a good state because it can help us sort of press the accelerator on our sadhana. If we use it that, we can just revel in the nice feeling of upliftment, or we can press the accelerator, because most of the time this silly mind of ours is always putting some barrier on our way. There are times when it is inspired, it is like, oh wow, this is great stuff, let's do it. This is the time which will push it forward as far as it goes, because now the mind will support whatever you're doing. Mr. Kumar, is that right? Or it is S. Kumar or something, I don't know. Maybe you can switch your video off. When the mind supports the activity, it's like there's a tailwind. It'll give you propulsion. And sometimes, of course, you'll get a headwind, in which case you just have to make your way as best you can. So this is where Arjuna is right now. And recognize this, because you will yourself go through this multiple times in the journey. You may have already gone through it, but you just love it. Nothing much is happening, but you love the idea. So what does he say? Vaktum. Vaktum means to speak. Please speak, O Krishna. Why is he saying please speak?
Krishna is silent.
Because Krishna is ever silent. Because that is at this stage, no knowledge actually anyone can put inside, because that person is so. Have you ever seen that? You've seen that in class, right? Somebody's so keen about asking a question that they will go on for half an hour if you let them, but they can't take in the answer because their keenness about the question is so much. You know the law that the more the desire, the less effective we become. You can see it each time we have a question. Question is so much, you're not available to listen to the answer. If you hear the answer, if you keep quiet long enough to hear the answer, do you know what most people do? Because they haven't heard the answer. You know what most people do?
They're already thinking of another question that they haven't.
They repeat their question. Have you not seen this happen multiple times? Yes, they can also think of another question. That is a possibility. But many times they merely repeat the question. So all the time, our desires are blocking everything, and we never ever see it. We don't understand that the desire is itself a barrier to itself. This is something that never gets to us. If you can dump that desire in the bin and work, you get whatever in the world you want. But no, we will get carried away with our desires. So in this case, Arjuna is being carried away with his desire for spirituality, which is good. As far as it goes, it's better than the rest who have no interest. And this is the time, if you recognize it and you use this phase intelligently, you can press the accelerator on your own growth. So he says, Vaktum arhasi asheshena. Speak Vaktum. To speak. The Tumanta form, asheshena. The instrumental form, where he says, without reserve. There is no baki left. There is no shesh left. Okay, so he's asking, tell me more, tell me more. But tell me what? You notice what he asked for. Atma vibhutaya. Your vibhutis, your glories. The plural of vibhuti in Sanskrit is vibhutaya. So your glories. Please tell me your glories. Now, what are his glories? His glories are his manifestations. But what's the point of all these manifestations? What we need to get to is the unmanifest, that truth, that reality that supports all these manifestations. But Arjuna is saying, tell me your glories, because it's so energizing, it is so uplifting to listen to the idea that the divinity covers everything. So many people, they spend so much time doing some chanting or something like that, puja, chanting, remembering God in some way or the other. Why do they do that? Because it is so uplifting. It is so, even if you come to class and you listen to qualities, people are always telling me, let's do qualities of the jnani, let's do qualities of the bhakta. Why is there so much interest in those particular portions of the Bhagavad Gita? Because even listening to these ideas, even listening to something about the higher, brings great peace to the mind, because it's been uplifted to something higher. Now, when it does that, the nature of the mind is to enjoy stuff. So what will it do? It enjoys it. But the intellect is alert. Then you use that to accelerate. Okay, don't just sit there and enjoy it. Most people are like, oh, how lovely this is. You speak so well. You explain so well. Now, how does it help if anyone explains well or doesn't explain well? Please. The idea is we have to push our spiritual sadhana forward. So, tell me all your Atma Vibhutayaha. Tell me all your manifestations. But oh, Arjuna, this is no use to you. What will you do with the manifestation? You have to get to the truth. Tvam vyapya tishtati. Imam tam tvam vyapya tishtati. What you have pervaded. Vyapya. Having pervaded. Tishtati. Sit, rest, relax. You pervade everything and relax. You are everywhere. Just like the chairman of an organization, his instructions are everywhere. But he can go home and go to sleep. It doesn't matter. But he is everywhere, right? He doesn't go home and go to sleep, but he could, because he's already issued the instructions for the day. So you are everywhere. Your instructions are everywhere. Your laws pertain everything. And you just, this is the state, the grandeur. Have you seen the murtis of Vishnu or Shiva? What do you see when you look at them? Do you ever see them like running somewhere, doing something? Steady, completely steady. But that steadiness is not the steadiness we have, okay, when we are not working. Please don't say, okay, oh, that's very good. No work, thank God. I thought we had to work very hard on crowdfunding, but now we can relax. No, if we want the university, we have to do that. But if you relax like the Lord does, means energized everything and disinterested in everything. That's where we have to get. If we could reach that state of the Lord. Vishnu is lying on Shesha, he says Shesha Shana. He's lying down on Sheshnaga. He's lying down and he's sleeping. We look at Shiva also. Have you noticed the Murti of Shiva? It's like this. I don't know if you can say. Eyes half closed. One is sleeping. One has his eyes half closed. What do you think of all this? And they're telling us to work. What it means is that not all your agitation, not all your work in the world causes any change in your mental state. You're running behind your children. This one is going to swimming class, that one is going to that class, this one is coming first in swimming, that one is doing this, that. And through it all, no change in your mental life. Wouldn't that be wonderful? That means we are becoming objective in life. Lots of things have to be done. Lots of services available for us to do. However, I am the self. And come what may, excuse me, that will never change. And if you can live life with that understanding, that will never change. I may fail, I may succeed, I may go up in life, I may go down in life. I may come to India, I may go to the US, I may do anything. But the one thing that will never change is that I am the self. That's not moving. And if you can associate with that, you will become unmoving. Bharat, we said to use the inspiration well, but hasn't the mind got totally carried away? Where is the chance for intellect to come in? Yes, before the mind gets totally carried away, before the intellect has been washed off, understand the state you're coming into and understand the state the mind is coming to, and let the intellect know, oh wow, this is a good time because we can use this. Use this means not abuse it. Use it in the sense, I can use this inspiration to tell myself, get up, keep going. Get up in the morning and study. I was very glad to see a few people have written on the VFC examiner that they have got into the habit of morning study, which is a good thing. As many people as do it, good for you. You have done yourself great good if you have managed to do that much. So Arjuna, in the state of inspiration, in that lovely state, in that nice mental upliftment, he says, tell me more, tell me more. Hey Baba, but if you want him to tell you more, then at least keep quiet. No, that also he won't do. So this is our friend Arjuna. So if everything is, if he is there all the time, which we did last time, if he is there all the time, why are we missing him? Why are we missing him?
Because he's everywhere.
Because he's everywhere. Anything that is always available is missed. Remember this. Here is this pouch. What is this? This is a pouch. I remove it. You say, now there is no pouch. Then I put it back and there is a pouch. And I can remove it and there is nothing. I put it and there's a pouch and I remove it and there's nothing. But nobody has noticed. Nobody will notice. There is a hand without which this pouch cannot stand here. Cannot. And yet this hand is never noticed. This is life. That which supports us all is never known. We know what comes and goes, but we don't know what is always there. That's the sad part about life. What is there is not noticed. Because it's there. It's always there. It never goes away. If it went away, you would notice it. Right? If you had a wonderful party in your house and your guests came and you made lots of food and that's wonderful, everybody had a great time and they said, oh, what a nice thing, what a beautiful house you have, what lovely food, what lovely guests, blah, blah, blah. Everybody loved everything. And nobody said, thank you, electricity. Because electricity was there. But suppose the electricity had gone. Then would anybody notice the food and the everything? Then what would we be saying about that party? Only one comment everybody will have, which is?
It was so hot.
Yeah.
There was no light.
No light. Oh, it happened, once at our place. Mostly people love coming here. And once we had a housewarming or something was, and then for whatever reason the electricity was giving us a lot of problems, and nobody said anything about anything other than the electricity. Oh my God, the electricity went, and everybody was all about the electricity. And all the other times that they have come, they never spoke about the electricity. Then they spoke about something else. We usually speak about what is not there. When do we speak about what is there? So whatever is lavished is not known, number one. And number two is a very strange phenomenon in life where almost by default, your senses are working, your mind is working, but the intellect isn't. The default position is that your senses are working, isn't it? For your ears, what is the default position? It's always open. You'll always hear. To not hear, you'll have to put something in your ears. And you know how irritating it is when people are when you're awoken at night with noise, then you'll know how your ears are always open. Your eyes also through the day are open. You have to close them. Your skin feels. Your tongue tastes. Powerful stuff that is going on. Constantly seeing something, hearing something, smelling something, tasting something, touching something. So, these powerful senses are pulling us so much. Right now in class, suppose your telephone rings, your attention is immediately goes. Will not continue to stay steady on the class. Somebody calls you, gone there. Some movement takes place, eyes have gone there. Isn't it? So easy. Therefore, we don't allow anyone to do anything during class. The minimum anything happens, when somebody starts, if you see somebody walking on the screen also in front of you, eyes will go there. It's very disturbing. So, the power of the senses to pull the mind towards themselves is amazing. The power of the mind to go wandering is amazing. And between these two, we are so badly stuck that who is there to watch the self? Who is there? The mind has taken your attention, your ears, nose, tongue, taste, all five are in default position on. Mind in default position on. That's the default position. You will have to do something to put it off. Where is the time to see that which is lavished? But still, we understand the importance of keeping the mind on the self. So he's saying, okay, tell me the manifestations. And that's why he's going to give them to him. Because hopefully, as you hear him say the manifestations, if you ever see those manifestations, you may remember the Lord said, I am here. Just to remind us, it's not that he is there and not in other places. He is there, that is true, and he is everywhere. He's not only there, but he is there. So if you see those things, remember. Now he's going to give us a few chapters where he's going to help us with this concept of remembering. So easy to forget, right? The senses are pulling, the mind is pulling. So easy to forget. So he's going to help us.
Hari Om Janki ji, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Ma'am, before you move to the next point, one question. The role of the intellect is extremely tough, right? See, mind, it's very easy. We choose what we like the phone rings or ice cream. There are no second thoughts. But when it comes to intellect, let's say you have to choose between two good investments, right? It's such a tough task, or lesser of two evils. It's so difficult, right? And unless you train it so hard, even after you choose the right one, it may go wrong. So it's not easy, right? When it comes to intellect.
Of course.
Right?
Yes. It's not easy, and therefore we have to work on not merely develop it. You have to work on developing it daily.
Daily.
If we don't do this daily, you'll do it for 2 weeks and then you stop and you see the difference. It's like exercise. You have to do it. What is the alternative? You just have to do it. It's like brushing your teeth. Suppose you say, yeah, it's so boring or so difficult, I'm going to stop now. Well, then you see what happens. Exactly what happens when you stop brushing your teeth is what will happen when you stop developing your intellect. It decays, it dies, it gives out a bad smell. If you see people running away from you, know that your intellect is giving out a bad smell because it's decayed. So there is no alternative to this. Try not cleaning your house every day. See what happens. Anything. So daily, every single day, for the rest of your life. Say, okay, when will I stop? Are you realized? If you're realized, you can stop. If you're not realized, please study. Because the easiest thing and the most frightening thing on the spiritual path, which he's going to warn us in chapter 18 and right at the end of the text, because he hopes by the end, by that time at least you reach this problem. Most of us will not reach this problem, but those of us who do reach this problem, you know what is the biggest problem on the spiritual path?
Happiness.
It is the disinclination to take another step forward. Biggest problem. See, most of us are at a stage at our lives where almost everything is set or fine. We don't really have any major problems. What motivation is there to develop oneself other than the keen desire to do so? And especially when we get into the propagation of Vedanta, it is really dangerous. People come to me, very good, very nice people, who are very inspired with this knowledge and want to do something to help propagate. And they're very irritated with me because I ask a very basic question. Do you attend classes? Do you study? If you yourself don't do that, then why are you telling the world to do it? One man, don't tell anyone, oh, we're being recorded, right? Okay. That I tell you, but nobody listens to us anyway, so it's okay. One man offered us 2 crores straight away to buy the land. Can you believe that? Okay, this story doesn't end well, so don't get excited. So he offered us 2 crores to buy the land. But the deal fell through because of various reasons. But the most important was that we do not want anybody on the trust who is not himself or herself studying the subject. And we could have got through every other issue, but this one we couldn't get through. Cannot have someone associate with us this closely that is not themselves interested in the study. So thank you, but no thank you. Maybe a stupid idea to do so because now we are really struggling. Now, okay, all these great ideas and all, but now big struggle. But anyway, it won't work, We start on something which won't work in the future. What's the use of taking instant pleasures in such a way that will cause trouble later on. So, one of the biggest problems is also to want to propagate the knowledge, to want everybody to study it and not be doing it yourself. I mean, all of you who've met Swamiji, you know the question Swamiji asks. The only one question he asks everybody you meet who claims to be a student of Vedanta: are you getting up in the morning? Or ask Jesus, what time do you get up in the morning? You know that. That's the only one thing he's interested in. All the work has to be a byproduct of our studies, not instead of our studies. Otherwise, it's pointless. What are you doing it for? If I at every thought ask, is this taking me to Brahman, especially when something is profitable or pleasures, would this not have my intellect guiding the mind? Yes, at every thought, if you ask yourself, is this taking me to my goal, relative or ultimate? This is the intellect guiding the mind. But yes, that is how you do it, that is correct. But Naushir, only as a caution, which may or may not be applicable to any particular person or situation, is that the mind is a tricky fellow, he's not that simple. And the way he can subvert the process is amazing. And he's very creative. It's not like he comes, that's why he's painted as the devil, and the devil takes many forms. All sorts of stuff he'll do. You never know that if you have been doing this consistently, have you even been doing it right? Just a caution. So we have to keep very alert with this mind of ours. In India, the government keeps coming up with laws. All lovely laws. We have one of the best constitution in the world. But we have one of the best constitutions because we Indians are very smart. Now, these same smart Indians who made the constitution also figure out ways to get around it. They follow the law, but not the spirit. And this amazing ability these Indians have. How they can manipulate the system. The moment a law comes out, their first thing is, how do I manipulate the system? It's exactly how our mind functions. So be cautious. With everything, be cautious. No matter how correct you think you are, be cautious. Always know that the mind is there to trick us. In other words, there are all sorts of internal motivations that we don't even know about half the time. So to answer your question, yes, Naushir, that's correct. But this, as in everything, do with caution. Okay. All right. So let's go to verse 17. Katham vidhyamaham yogim tvam sada parichintayan keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintosi bhagavan maya. Katham vidhyamaham yogim tvam sada parichintayan keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintosi bhagavan maya. Katham vidhyamaham yogim. O yogim, katham vidhyam aham. How will I know? Tvam sada parichintayan. How will I always remember you? How will I meditate upon you? Keshu keshu cha bhaveshu. In what all bhavas, in what aspects? Chintosi. How shall I think of you? Bhagavan, O Lord. Maya, by me. How is this thinking to be done? How am I to remember you? How am I to meditate you? Tell me all your glories, which is what he said in the previous verse. Tell me all your glories so that I may see them and remember you. And in India, a lovely thing we have all done. I don't know if you've noticed. In various parts of our country, you go to Mathura. Just the name Mathura reminds you of
Lord Krishna.
Lord
Krishna,
Krishna.
no? Go to Mathura. The places marked that he did this here, he did that there. You say Chitrakoot. What do you think of? Please
Shri
don't.
Ram.
Ram.
Shri Ram.
Sri Ram, at least remember him on Ram Navami. The thing is, days in our country are associated with the Lord. Places in our country are associated with the Lord. I don't know if you've ever come to Maharashtra. You go around Maharashtra, they'll tell you Sita had a bath here. Like that. And like that, they have associated everything in this country with God. And you see monkeys and you remember Hanuman. Everything is associated. So he's asking, that's his question. Please tell me, how am I to remember you? Because I forget. I forget every now and then that you are the purpose, you are the goal, you are everything. Can't remember. Suddenly something happens and I forget. There's a story about Vishnu that Narada was very proud that he was the best devotee. And he was, because every time on the tongue of Narada, there was only one thing, right? Remember what does Narada saying?
Narayan, Narayan.
Narayan, Narayan. All the time he said that. He was the best devotee, there was no doubt about him. This Naushid is what I was telling you, is how important it is to be alert at all times. So Narada was the best devotee. He was always associating himself with the Lord and never associated himself with anything else. But unfortunately, he developed little pride. So he asked the Lord, tell me who's your best devotee. Thinking, oh, obviously me. And then the Lord said, that man there, that farmer there, he's my best devotee. My best devotee, that farmer there? Then yeah, come with me, I'll show you. So Vishnu and Narayana went to that farmer somewhere in the village. And then they were watching his life. So in the morning he woke up, he did puja of the Lord, and he went into the farm and did all his hard work, and whole day he was working. Then he came home at night and again he did namaskar to the Lord, and he ate his food and went to sleep. So Narada was like, are you joking or what? I remember you whole day. He remembers you twice a day and he's a better devotee than me. Like he couldn't speak to the Lord like that. But in his mind, he was like, you have to be joking. This can't possibly be true. So of course, Vishnu understands how Narada feels. So he says, okay, look, I'll tell you one thing. Here, take this bowl of oil, take a pradakshana around Govardhan and come back, but make sure you don't spill any of this oil. Okay, it's sacred oil, don't spill it on the ground. You just take one pradakshana around Govardhan and you bring this oil back. Lord has told Narada, so he did it. He took the bowl of oil, he bowed his head, he took it. He took very, very carefully, he took it around Govardhan. He took the whole pradakshana and brought that oil, which was brimming, back to the Lord without having dropped a single drop. So he knew he'd done what the Lord had said. So he was, look at me, I do everything you say. And then, so he expected a pat on his back, right? And then that time, Vishnu, when he brought it back to Vishnu, he said, see, I brought it, I didn't drop a single drop of oil. Vishnu said, oh, that's very good. But tell me, while you were carrying it, how many times did you think of me? This man has worked all day, very hard and difficult life. He managed to think of me twice. He is the greatest devotee. So we have never to ignore the circumstance in which somebody is doing whatever they are doing. Because as they say in English, Don't talk about anyone until you have walked a mile in their shoes. Walk a mile, then we'll talk. So, I forget about you, O Krishna. Tell me how to remember you. So many things are going on, right? How can we remember? So show me all these things. Remind me with all these things. And do it carefully. Don't get carried away. Because you don't know where you're going to trip and fall. This journey is not easy. It's not easy in spite of the fact that it is so joyful. In fact, the joy is the problem. Assuming trust, not just believe reaching Brahman is the only reason I'm born, would that not squeeze the boundaries of the mind and lessen its mischief capabilities? Yes, it does. It will lessen its mischief capabilities. It will not remove them. Because the mind is capable of mischief all the way till you have only one desire for realization. It will do its mischief even then. Or when you're on the seat of meditation, it will do its mischief. So yes, its boundaries for mischief will all the time reduce. But its capacity for mischief is not reduced. Please know this carefully. Only the boundaries are reduced, not the capacity. So just think about this, that if the boundaries reduce and the capacity does not reduce, what happens?
At the slightest opportunity, it will again come up. At the
Sorry.
slightest opportunity.
Intensity increases.
Very good. Very good. Intensity increases. So the mistakes you make in the further stages of the journey are crazy mistakes. And sometimes only you are going to know them, because who's going to be able to recognize that you did that? It's all frightening. Because when you're not so developed, everybody can look at you and say, oh, you did that, you did that, you did that. When you develop and nobody can look at you and see your mistakes, your real mistakes, then you'll be grateful for that early time where people could look at you and could tell your mistakes. So, no, Shir.
Janki ji, is it not practically where I am now to reach the higher level? I mean, I can't get an ICU patient running a marathon the day he's out of ICU. So I'm an ICU patient. So wouldn't this get me there?
Yeah, of course it will. But keep alert. Having a goal is the only way to get you there. But keep alert is the only point. Don't relax saying that I have a goal. If you relax saying you have a goal, then you don't know what your mind will do. Just like the story about Narada.
Yeah, default position.
Default position. So
Thank you.
How do I meditate upon you is Arjuna's question. How do I remember you? How do I meditate upon you? This is called open eye meditation. But everywhere you go, you can only see the Lord. And that's where you're helped in this country, right? Because they tell you, this people tree, there's some leaf which is the favorite of Shiva. And there is something else which is the favorite of Rama. Then even if you see a bear, what will the bear remind you of?
Sabri.
Isn't it? So everything they manage to sort of associate with God, because we need that help to be able to understand that it is all God and God alone. There is nothing else here. There is only a reality. There is only a truth. There is nothing else. If I see anything else, it's my madness. So tell me, how do I understand that? Tell me, how do I even remember that? That understanding, how do I even remember? Because in the course of my life, I can so easily forget it. So give me all these tips. Associate yourself for me with various things so that I remember where you are. I can see it. O yogin means one who has done the yoga. You are the yogi. You have accomplished the yoga. That is also avatar. Avatar means star, you understand, right? Tarna, swimming. Avatar, go to the other side. Oh, avatar means you who have known the other side, gone to the other side. You are one who knows the self. You are one who has identified yourself as self. Show me now how to do it, because it's not easy for me. Keshu cha bhaveshu. Which ways? Where am I to remember you? How am I to remember you? Now, the important thing in meditation is not what you're doing on the seat of meditation, but what you're doing the rest of the day. Because the quality of meditation is always based on the quality of your life. Whole day you are sleeping and you get up for 10 minutes, meditate and go back to sleep, and meditation won't work. Whole day you have negative thoughts in your head, all stressed, worked up, agitated, irritated, and then you meditate, it won't work. So how your day works is how your meditation works. What are we going to do with those 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever people claim they're doing? 1 hour sometimes this. What will you do with that 1 hour? The question is, what are you doing with the 23 hours? You live in some kind of crazy misunderstanding whole day, and then you say, okay, 1 hour I'm going to have good understanding. How is that possible? So, how may I know you, O yogin, or you who have done this already? Through constant meditation. In what all aspects are you to be thought of by me? O blessed Lord. You know, even in the way Arjuna speaks, you get to know who he's speaking to, isn't it? Because suppose somebody calls you on phone, okay? And there are people around you. Can't they understand who you're speaking to? Suppose Modi ji has called you. How will you talk? If your father has called you, how do you talk? If your friend has called you, who you've never heard of for 30 years has called you, how will you talk? Just by the way you speak, you know who the person you're speaking to is. So from the way he says it, oh Bhagavan, oh Lord, just from that, you can tell the grandeur of the person you're speaking to. Verse 18. Vistarenatmano yogam vibhutim cha janardana bhuya kathaya truptirhi shrunvato nasti me mrutam. Vistarenatmano yogam vibhutim cha janardana bhuya kathaya truptirhi shrunvato nasti me mrutam. Vistarena. Vistarena means in detail. Vibhutam. Atmana vibhutam. Your own glories. O Janardana. O Janardana, another name for Krishna. O Krishna, please tell me your glories. Bhuya. Bhuya means again. Tell me again and again. Kathaya. Tell. Truptihi. No. There is no trupti. There is no satisfaction. There is no satiation. There is no completeness in listening about your glory. I cannot stop listening to this. There is no satiation. I can go on forever hearing. Tell me in detail, O Krishna. Tell me about this vibhuti of yours. It is nectarine. It is amrutam. It has the bliss of amrit. You can also feel that, no? So Krishna, talk to us. Tell us. Tell us all the greatness of the Sat. Tell us the greatness of the reality, the truth. For there can never be satiation. I can never feel that, oh, bas ho gaya. No, this is a knowledge that I can keep on listening to 100 times. I can hear the same words 100 times. Haven't you ever noticed that even with poetry, any classical literature, the best of poetry, the best of literature, you can go to it over and over again. Is there any satiety? Because the greater the depth of something, the greater the depth in something, the longer you can associate. You can read Shakespeare multiple times. You can hear, in fact, all that he has written multiple times, we say in our daily language we use. Even good poetry. You read the same poetry again, you always feel the same inspiration, isn't it? Not through eastern windows only, when daylight comes in the light. Beautiful poem. Say not the struggle not avails, the labor and wounds in vain. The enemy faints not nor faileth, and as things have been, they remain. Don't say this. Don't say that the struggle not availeth, that the struggle is useless. Things are just the way they always have been. So the poet satisfies you by saying, not through eastern windows only, when daylight comes in the light. It may appear to you that you are failing in whatever you are doing, but remember that when the sun rises, the light doesn't come in only through eastern windows. The whole land will become bright. Don't say the effort is useless. You can hear this when hearing these lines all my life. And no matter how many times you hear it, inspiring. And all that little man sees a little thing to do, sees it and does it. That great man aiming for 1 million misses a unit. We look before and after and pine for what is not. We look before and after and pine for what is not. Our sweetest thoughts, our sweetest songs tell of saddest thoughts. All the beautiful poetry you can remember, right? कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना, छोड़ो बेकार की बातें. Any amount of good, anything you can hear over and over again. But how many times can you hear what? An advertising jingle? You can't. After some time, I will, Papa, isko band karo. So when you start associating, tuning in, even the classical songs, how many times same song listen over and over again? Whatever has depth, and every time, whether it's Indian classical, Western classical, if you listen to the Western classical, it's so beautifully orchestrated. Every time you hear it, you get something new, you get a new note, you get a new thing that you hadn't seen before, like in knowledge also. Even if you listen to Rarang De Chunaria or any of the well-sung classical, get something new, right, each time. So now the Lord, the subtlest, is going to express His vibhuti, His glory, His splendor. Now if He's expressing His grandeur, now can there be any satiation in it? In everything else there may be. but not in this. So Vistarena, in detail, Atmano Vibhutam Kathaya, Bhuya, in detail, again, tell me your glories. Nasti Truptihi, there is no Truptihi, there is no, I'm not going to say enough, I can keep on listening to this. This is Amritam, this is indeed nectar. So, anything subtler will last. I do not agree that putting a boundary on my mind will increase its intensity as I'm feeding the intellect and starving the mind with thinking about the effect of the choice. As I'm feeding the intellect and starving the mind with thinking about the effect of choice.
If I may add, may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you were given a choice of paying 50,000 and getting a Mercedes S-Class or a old black and yellow 20-year-old Fiat, would not the mind say the Mercedes and the intellect? In which case you're feeding the intellect. So why should the mind's capacity, my intensity go up? If you agree that one who made me knows more what I need than a man like me, lay I on him no conditions, fix no ways or means, and do my obligations and forget what comes, either death or complete victory. And I just carry on that path.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm not denying it. I'm just saying be cautious. If you say this is right, and if I just stick to this, no harm will come, then there's a problem there. Be cautious everywhere. Always cautious, always humble. Otherwise, where life will hit us, we don't know. So, tell me in detail. Tell me. And there's no satiation for me, because anything with depth will have no satiation. Okay, so we have only 2 minutes left for the class to end, so I don't think we should take up the next verse. We are going to spend 5 minutes, as you all know, to talk about our exciting new project. And Ranga has joined us. Ranga's a good friend now because he's going to help us get to this university. And he's also inspired by it, and he's going to, his company called Fuel a Dream is going to, we're going to work with them to see how to move forward with our vision of the university. So now I'll hand it over to Ranga, who will tell us what exactly we are to be doing.
Hari Om. Good morning, everyone. And wonderful to be with all of you all on a Sunday. So I'm just going to spend a little time talking about what we do, what crowdfunding is about, and why it's a very, very exciting way of actually fueling a lot of dreams. Is it possible for me to be sharing my screen? I could request someone to enable that so that I can screen share.
Who is the host today?
Omkar will do it.
Thank you so much. Okay, so while that is being enabled, yeah, that's done. That was quick. Thank you so much. Yeah. So just a quick little introduction, and then I'll take it from there. So my name is Ranga, and I run this platform called Fuel a Dream. We are based out of Bangalore, and I used to be in the corporate world for about close to 30 years in India, Southeast Asia, and China, and worked with companies like Pepsi and Godrej and Whirlpool. I launched the Hindustan Times long back in Mumbai. And about 7 years back, I realized I was making too much of money, and I come from a very middle-class family. And I realized there was a concept of too much money when I actually made too much of money. And one day I was planning to buy an island in Goa, And that's when I realized that, possibly that was not the most fruitful thing to do with my life. And I decided that, helping people made a lot of sense. So about 7 years back, I sold everything I own. So I'm down to zero assets, which is very relieving because nothing holds me back, and moved to Bangalore and started Fueletry. So what I will do is, just quickly take you through the concept of crowdfunding. And the objective is to request you to be part of this campaign. But before that, obviously, I need to tell you a little bit about what it is. So as I said, the platform is called Fueletry. And crowdfunding, there's a huge science to it. So it's like a dining table with 4 legs, right? Even if one leg is wobbly, you really can't enjoy your meal. Similarly, crowdfunding has 4 legs. One is storytelling, how to tell a story. Second is how do you communicate the story to people. Third is the technology. How do you leverage technology? So if you have a phone, know how to use WhatsApp, that's the basics. And consumer behavior. How do you go about doing this campaign? That's the most important part about it. And a lot of times when I say it's a science, people ask me saying, what do you mean by a science? I have a question to that. For example, if you look at the names of women and girls in India, 80% of your first name ends with A or E or I. 80% of women and girls. And there's a science to it. Now, once you understand the science, it's very fascinating to say, wow, it's so easy. But if you don't, it's like, how on earth did this happen, right? And if you go to Spain, 90% of the women have their first names ending with A. Russia is also at 90%. And the science is the same. So similarly, crowdfunding, there's a science. And when I talk about consumer behavior and crowdfunding, again, people say, what do you mean by that? So here's a very interesting, and this is, a very interesting example. This was a social experiment done a few years back by Reader's Digest, where they went to these 16 cities around the world. And in each city, they lost 12 wallets. Now, I like to call it the Batua experiment. And, the wallets had money, about $50 worth of local currency. They also had the names and telephone numbers of people. And they wanted to find out how honest people were and how many of these wallets would come back. And the most honest city, 11 out of 12 wallets came back, and that was Helsinki in Finland. The second most honest was 9 out of 12. But the interesting part was the 2 most dishonest cities. They were 1 out of 12 and 2 out of 12. Does anyone want to take a guess and tell me what are the 2 most dishonest cities possibly in this list? Anyone? The 2 most dishonest cities. Just take a guess. You can put it on chat or just tell us the answer. Two most dishonest cities out of this. 2 names.
Mumbai and New York.
Mumbai and New York. Perfect. Okay. Mumbai and New York. Anyone else? Okay, so Mumbai and New York by a mile is the most popular answer. Okay, the 2 most dishonest cities. Now, this city, which is 9 out of 12, the second honest is Mumbai. Okay, and New York is the third most honest, 8 out of 10. Okay, and that happens to everyone. Don't worry. So these are the numbers, and the most dishonest are actually Lisbon and Madrid. And after New York, surprisingly, the next most honest is Moscow. Okay, so a lot of us live our life with perceptions. And a lot of times the reality is very different. Like we do a lot of work with students, and the first thing I tell them is, if I started this talk with you and I spoke in not so great English in the first 2 minutes, you would have shut off. Because the moment I don't speak English well, you assume I'm not smart, I'm not intelligent. Yeah, that's perception. Reality is far from the truth. Yeah, English doesn't make me a nicer person or a smarter person. So similarly, even when you come to crowdfunding, a lot of times we believe that the very rich are very generous. Nothing could be further from the truth. So when you do crowdfunding, it's a very interesting experience because you're shocked with the people who support you. You realize that being democratic makes so much of, makes the whole thing very interesting and fun. And it's always a wonderful experience to say, wow, there's so many good people around me. Because when you do crowdfunding, you realize that there are good people around you. Why do you realize it? So in 2019, and I'm not taking the last 2-3 years because of COVID, because we all were very, very generous. But in 2019, if I looked at the amount of funds Indians gave to charity, The number is staggering. This is the amount we gave to charity, 42,000 crores. If you add companies, that was another 15,000 crores to CSR. If you add what we gave to temples and churches and mosques and gurudwaras, that's another 40,000 plus crores. So the total is 1 lakh crores. So when you do crowdfunding, the first thing most of us realize is you don't have to convince people to give. Everyone gives. It's just that we don't talk about it. So you don't have to change behavior. The behavior is already ingrained in our culture, right? So this is a little bit about our platform. We are Bangalore based. There are about 14 of us. We've raised about 71 crores already. And this is what the crowdfunding is about. And it's all about, putting together, bringing together, and, making this wonderful Vedanta Wisdom University come alive. And these are some of the features, of the university. And I think clearly, even when Janki-ji, first talked about this, we all see this need, that education, we need to create not, just people who are educated, but thought leaders, people with a lot of empathy, people who can make the world a better place, and do much more than, just have this single-minded pursuit of, material benefits and stuff like that. Because my first question in most colleges and schools when I meet them is, how many of you all want to be billionaires? Earlier it used to be millionaires, but millionaires sounds very, passe now. So I say, how many of you want to be billionaires? And everyone puts their hands up. And I say, great, very important to be billionaires. What do you do after you become a billionaire? You'll never be happy saying, okay, now I need to be a trillionaire. So you have the power to make the world a better place. What do you do? It's good to make money because, you can help more people. And, that's how, we need to think. So from a concept of, the university, it's a brilliant concept, which is the need of the hour. And we see it all the time, people talking about what if education could do all this for our children, right? And the plan is to, build it in Raigad. And it's a very strategic location because it's close to Bombay, Pune, and very conveniently located. And these are a few images of the proposed, university. And the first phase, is 5 crores. The total project cost is about 100. And the crowdfunding campaign that we are doing, the first phase is all about all of us coming together, as individuals and as a group, to basically raise funds to support this initiative. And we have as a platform done, similar ones. We recently did a very large campaign for an NGO where we raised about 15 crores for them. So, these are things that we understand. The difference is, unlike other platforms, what we do is right from the story to the science, we actually sit with you and explain how it works so that it becomes very interesting for you all and it becomes meaningful. Now, without learning the science, you might raise 50,000. But by learning the science, you usually raise 10 times more. That's the difference, And this is a case study which is actually happening on our platform, where last month, similarly, I spoke to, people like you on a call, and 49 of them decided to sign up. And each of them decided that, okay, we'll try and raise 50,000 because it was the first time they were doing it. So the goal was about 25 lakhs. And in just 14 days, they've raised 81 lakhs. So now they're completely shocked, saying, wow, this is amazing. And they are building this wonderful, institution which will take care of girls who unfortunately lost a parent during COVID. So these are the campaigns, of different people. And the highest a person has raised is 20 lakhs. The second person is 15. And all of them started with 50,000 goals, right? And so it's all about harnessing the power of good, because there are so many good people around us. And you realize that when you do crowdfunding. So the plan that we have is coming Friday, on the 15th, we have a session for an hour between 7 and 8, where we actually talk about the science of crowdfunding, how to manage your campaigns, what to do, and more important, what not to do. And after that, we launch the campaigns at 8:30. These campaigns run for 2 weeks. They might get extended by a week, but usually 2 weeks. And they take just 10 to 15 minutes of your time every day. And I don't just teach crowdfunding. I also walk the talk. I do crowdfunding myself, to help people. And I usually get to my goal in 48 hours to 72 hours because by now I've understood how it works. But, it's a very fascinating thing because you do good, you feel good, everyone who funds also, gets involved in it and says this is amazing. And to take part, you need to register at this link. So I will share this link on chat, and once you go to this link, you essentially need to register yourself. So my suggestion is, by today, if you can please register at this link. And when you register at this link, it will ask you for your name, telephone number, email ID. It will also ask you to upload your picture. And when you upload your picture, you need to put a picture which is less than 1 MB size. So a lot of us have wonderful pictures of ours, on our phones, and a lot of them are 3-4 MB. So the easiest way to reduce the picture size in 3 seconds is take a screenshot of the picture and upload that, because that size becomes about 300, 400, 500, 600K. So register today, and this will help us create each of your campaigns by next Friday. And on Friday, if you attend the session, the link for all that will be shared. Once you register, you become part of a group, you get all the information. And what it allows you to do is basically make a huge difference to the lives of thousands of students for generations to come. And the interesting part is 10 years, 15 years down the line, you can say, hey, I was a part of the team which actually put this university together, and brick by brick, all of us had actually come together and made this happen. And we never thought that crowdfunding, and all of us together would make this happen, but that's exactly, how it works. So that's a little bit, about crowdfunding. As I said, I'm just going to take this link and.
Ranga,
yes.
I think the form number is 516, not 416.
Sorry. 1 second. Let me just go there. Thank you so much for that. Hang on.
Bharat can put the link on the group also.
Okay. If you can just share it on the group, I will just make it. Oh, you're right. Just 516. This is what happens.
Will the age of, sorry.
Yes, please go ahead.
What will be the age of students, the youngest student?
No, so it's not for students. It's for you all to take part. I just mentioned.
No, I'm talking about once the university is up.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll have to have finished their 12 standard, whatever age they are, but they have to finish their 12 standard, because they're graduation, post-graduation, and doctorate. So we follow UGC standards. And after 12 standard, you can join. So as long as you've done 12 standard, you can do your graduation there.
And is Sanskrit taught?
Yes, Sanskrit is part of the course, yes.
Thank you. How do you send a check?
No, so everything is done online. The entire payments, everything is done online. So when people come to so each of y'all has your own campaign. Okay? And each of y'all is managing your own campaign. So when you reach out to people, when they come to your campaign and they want to fund, they can fund online using credit cards, debit cards, Paytm, anything, absolutely anything except for cash, everything. So all that we will discuss on Friday. But essentially, each of us is managing a campaign. So for example, if there are 60 of us, and let us say each of us has a goal of 50,000, I'm giving you an example. We're talking about a 30 lakh goal as a team, right? Usually what we've seen is in Bombay, when we do campaigns, most people very easily raise a lakh and a half. So typically when I do campaigns, I usually do 5-10 lakh campaigns, because I've got 30 years of experience. Honestly, for me, raising 5 lakhs takes 24 to 48 hours, because I understand how to do it. So that's not a problem. So that's how crowdfunding works. So it's about you reaching out to the crowd to get them to fund, and we'll talk exactly about how that works. So the link, Janki ji, will be shared on the group by your team, right?
Mahesh, Bharat, you have the right link, right?
Yes, we have it. We'll share it on the group.
Okay. You can even put it on the chat box here if you can now.
I'm just putting it. I've just put it over there.
Okay. Yeah, and put it on the group as well.
I've got a problem. I teach children free because I have to pay back to society as I'm so much in debt on workouts on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 6:30 to 8. So can it be put that I can again go back and have a look at it when I come back home?
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll record the session if you want. And we also have a PPT which we will share with you. Right. So you can have that as a reference. And even once we launch, we have a WhatsApp group, and I have a team of about 4 people, and they'll be there to support you through the journey. So we have a team which will support you through the journey, in real time. So not a problem at all. So we'll take care of that. Not a problem.
Fine. Thank you.
So initially, to be very honest with you, most people, when they do this, there's a little uncertainty and fear, saying, look, what is this about raising funds? Am I comfortable doing it and stuff like that? And I keep telling people, look, all of us can make the world a better place. That's number one. Second is, we are not asking for funds to go on a holiday to Switzerland. We're trying to create an institution, and in the process, obviously, impact a lot of people. And it's a nice way to try something out, because if you try something new, when you realize that, oh my God, I can do this, most people who do crowdfunding come back to us twice a year saying this is immensely gratifying, because sitting at home, I'm actually able to do something, substantial, tangible, and that's what makes it very, very fascinating and interesting. Like, I'll give you one last example. We had a celebrity with about 12 million Instagram followers. He wanted to raise 30 lakhs. And I told him, this is how crowdfunding works. And he said, no, I don't agree with you. I'll just put out tweets on social media to my team and my followers, and I'll raise 30 lakhs in 3-4 days. And he did that and raised 8,000 rupees. And I said, crowdfunding doesn't work like this. And he was so surprised. So he says, okay, Ranga, next time, you need to tell me how it works. I'm going to listen to everything you say. And he's about he's big. He's really a big Bollywood star. And he says, okay, I've learned it the hard way. Next time I'm going to do it right. So there's a very interesting science. And that's one question is, how does one crowdfund for cause in India in foreign countries? Currently, you can't, because the government, the latest rules don't allow foreign funding through crowdfunding. So all the funds we raise is from Indian funders, but the amount is huge. As I said, we give 1 lakh crores, so there's enough money out there, to raise. Any questions from anyone?
I just want it on my mail, if possible, that you're recording things so I can read it. That's all, if
Sure.
possible.
No, we'll share it with you. Don't worry. I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
See, I was wanting to call people who were there on the class WhatsApp group in one of Jankiji's classes. And, I haven't been in touch with them for now months, since the months or many, many months. So if I call them and ask them to join, don't they think that, oh, now you want something, so you're calling me? So that apprehension is there that, for so many years you haven't been in touch, and now you need some help from me. And,
no, that's a great question you asked, because that's the number one question which everyone has in their mind, but no one articulates it. So thank you so much for first articulating. So as I said, if I get a call after 10 years from someone saying, look, Ranga, I either want you to be part of this campaign or I want you to fund the campaign, 2 scenarios. If the campaign is helping someone else, my behavior is very different. So let us say, if a Mr. Sham calls me saying, Ranga, help and support this campaign, my first perception is, oh, Sham is helping others. That's how I perceive it. Okay. So I actually look at it positively and say, hey, look, this person is doing so much of good. That is my perception. While your perception is, what will Ranga think? Ranga doesn't think like that, Ranga doesn't have. But if you say, look, Ranga, please help me, I am going to Antarctica and I need 20 lakhs for that, and I want you to support me. I'm like, why would I fund your trip to Antarctica? Okay, but if you're trying to build a university or help someone else, I'm only going to give you positivity, positive karma, and say, okay, if I like that, fine. The other thing is, when it comes to crowdfunding, the easiest things to crowdfund are causes for children and young adults. Second is, for women. And the third is, for elderly. In children, the top 2 causes are education and food. So when you talk about creating a university, for the youth with a difference, that's one of the easiest things to crowdfund, because we all appreciate and understand the importance of education. So that's so tomorrow, for example, just to give a perspective, if we were creating an awareness campaign, for, let's say, polio in, let's say, rural India, that is a very tough one to crowdfund. But education, building a university, building schools, easiest things to crowdfund. So one of the things what I'm trying to say is the cause is also a very easy cause to crowdfund and support. So that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then, so I look forward to a lot of you all signing up. It just takes 2-3 minutes to sign up. And for some reason, if you have a challenge on this form, I've already posted the link on chat. You can just click it so that you have it with you. If you have any challenge on the form itself, there's a name of a colleague of mine called Varsha. You can just WhatsApp her and she'll help you. You shouldn't have a problem, just in case you have it. Yeah? Thank you so much.
Yes, and if you have any other, I mean, Bharat or Surendra, who is sort of heading the whole crowdfunding campaign, both of them can also help you.
Sure, that'll be